opens with a scene of an injured girl named Ratna, confined to an isolated ward in a prison. As she desperately tries to escape, the lights suddenly go out, and a mysterious entity appears. When she turns around, she sees no one, but the next moment, the entity attacks her. Following this, we see a group of prisoners being brought to Ratu Adil prison. Herman, the warden, informs them that they are considered social outcasts and that this will be their new home. He explains that there are rules they must follow and assures them that as long as they comply, they will be fine. He then instructs Farhan, the prison guard, to escort them to their cells. Wenny is assigned to share a cell with Yanti, who explains that Herman refers to this place as home. She adds that while it is indeed a home, it's one where the hopes of those who live here are completely crushed. She advises Wenny to be grateful their cell has just 2 people, unlike others crammed with 4 to 10 prisoners. Later, in the dining area, a prisoner Bella attacks Suri, and Wenny intervenes to stop the fight, prompting Bella to nearly attack her. But Farhan arrives just in time to break it up. He instructs Wenny to take Suri to the clinic and tells Adit to keep an eye on them. Later, Yanti warns Wenny not to cross the strong ones, but Wenny questions, staying silent. While Bella bullies someone, Yanti responds that many have died in vain here, and when Wenny asks what she means, Yanti simply says she'll find out. After some time, as the cell lights go off, Wenny lies down to sleep, but hears a voice calling for help. She quickly gets up, rushes to the cell door, and asks Yanti, "Who is that?" Yanti calmly tells her to ignore it and go back to sleep, assuring her that the voice will fade away and that she will find out about it later. Later that night, Wenny wakes up to the sound of someone crying, and to her shock, the door to her cell opens by itself. Filled with fear, she peeks outside and tries to wake Yanti, but Yanti is fast asleep. Perplexed, Wenny steps out to investigate and cautiously follows the cries. After a while, she encounters a woman standing in the hallway. As Wenny moves closer to get a better look, the woman suddenly turns and lunges at her, strangling her, but Wenny jolts awake in fear. Yanti approaches her and asks if she had a nightmare, but Wenny remains silent. Later, Yanti tells Wenny that Farhan is like a dog, loyal to his master, Herman. Both of them are cruel, so she should avoid getting involved with them. Yanti then points out 2 other guards, calling them scumbags and gold diggers, and suggests that if she bribes them, she'll be able to live here without trouble. Yanti adds that the new warden, Adit, hasn't caused any problems yet, but warns that in 2 or 3 years, he might become like the others. Next, we see Wenny with the doctor, Rustia, who asks her to fill out a form. Wenny inquires if it's a psychological test, and Rustia replies that she simply wants to get to know her better. As Wenny fills out the form, Rustia reviews her file and tells her that she can talk about anything to feel more comfortable. Wenny mentions that she heard strange sounds the previous night, to which Rustia dismisses the idea, saying she doesn't believe the rumors about the isolation ward being haunted, explaining that it doesn't make sense to her and that the place just looks eerie at night, making people imagine things. Wenny returns to Yanti, who asks what she thinks of Rustia. Wenny replies that she's nice, and Yanti explains that Rustia is the only one in her right mind here. She's like a mother to all the prisoners, so if she ever feels like pouring her heart out, she can confide in her. Curious, Wenny asks about the isolation ward, and Yanti explains that it's the room near their cell. Wenny then asks if the strange sounds were coming from there, and Yanti sits beside her, saying it's a cursed room. She explains that people go in, but few make it out, and that's why all the prisoners are terrified of it. Yanti adds that someone was sacrificed there last night, and someone died. Just then, Adit arrives and tells Wenny to come with him. Adit takes Wenny to the kitchen, telling her that Sekar, the senior prisoner who prepares their meals, used to be close to Ratna. Wenny is surprised to hear Ratna's name, and Adit reveals that he has been assigned to this prison by Simon for quite a long time. It is then revealed that Ratna was Wenny's sister, who died under Herman's leadership. Simon, a prosecutor, had told Wenny that something was off in the prison, though he hadn't yet figured out what it was. Wenny asked him to place her in the prison so she could investigate and find out for herself. Adit tells Wenny that the male wardens have little authority here, so despite being there for 3 months, he has very little information. Wenny mentions that she heard strange sounds the previous night, to to which Adil responds that he's heard the same, and explains that of those who enter the isolation ward, only a few ever return to their cells. As they continue walking, Adil advises her to be careful and assures her that he will keep her safe. He then introduces Wenny to Sekar, telling her that she will be helping her in the kitchen from now on. Later, Bella tells Wenny to put more food on her plate, but Wenny responds that every prisoner gets the same portion. Just then, Sekar arrives and gives Bella more food, and after Bella leaves, Sekar advises Wenny not to look for trouble, saying all the food they've prepared might go to waste, and then tells her to go and have breakfast. As Wenny gets in line, Sekar tells her that she reminds her of a prisoner who used to help her, one who didn't like vegetables. Wenny asks who it was, and Sekar says it was Ratna. Wenny asks, does she said she didn't like vegetables since her sister also hated them? Hearing this, Sekar pulls her aside and asks, are you Ratna's sister? Wenny then asks if Sekar has any idea why her sister ended up dead in prison. Sekar tells Wenny that Ratna once told her she had fallen into a trap, but unfortunately, bad luck led her here. Wenny asks, what did you see? To which Sekar promises that she will tell her, but it's not the right time, and there are too many people around who might overhear them. She then asks Wenny to come and help her tomorrow morning. Later, Bella picks on 2 prisoners and hits one of them. But just then, Wenny arrives, and Bella warns her not to intervene. A warden arrives just in time to stop them, and Bella tells Wenny that she'll see how long her guts last. After Bella leaves, the 2 prisoners introduce themselves as Yeti and Jane, expressing their gratitude and saying they owe her. Meanwhile, the lights in the cafeteria suddenly go off, and before Sekar can figure out what's happening, she is attacked by 2 prisoners. The next morning, Wenny searches for Sekar but can't find her. She then meets Adil and tells him that Sekar had promised to tell her something this morning, but she isn't in the dining room, to which Adil assures her that he will look for her. Meanwhile, Yeti bribes Farhan, telling him that she and Jane should be placed in the same cell. Later, Wenny notices Ima wearing a hair clip, and in a flashback, it is revealed that Wenny had gifted the same clip to Ratna on her birthday. Wenny approaches Ima and asks where she got the hair clip, but Ima starts screaming and quickly runs away from her. Yanti tells Wenny that Ima has been keeping a secret about how she managed to escape the isolation ward. Wenny asks if anyone knows why Ima was thrown in jail, and Yanti reveals that it was for mutilation. Later, Adil approaches Wenny and tells her that Sekar still hasn't been found. He advises her to be careful, warning that the situation is becoming more chaotic. After Adil leaves, Wenny follows Ima and tries to talk to her, but when Ima sees her, she begins screaming and tries to run away. However, when Wenny tells her she is Ratna's sister, Ima immediately calms down, and Wenny tells her that she gave that clip to Ratna. Ima hugs her and starts crying loudly, and Wenny, feeling the intensity of her emotions, says she must have really loved Ratna. When Ima confirms, Wenny says just wants to know how Ratna ended up dying in the prison and asks about what happened in the isolation ward. In a flashback, we see Ratna giving the clip to Ima, telling her she can use it as an amulet. Just then, Bella spanks Ratna as she passes by, and when Ratna calls out to her, Bella lunges at her to attack, while one of Bella's fellow prisoners starts beating Ima. Just then, Farhan arrives to intervene, and behind him, Herman appears, asking the prisoners if they are done causing trouble. He orders that someone be sent to the isolation ward, and on his command, the guards grab Ima and Ratna, taking them away. Later that evening, Bella drags Jane away, and Yeti, furious, tells Farhan that he's a piece of shit. The next morning, Yeti confronts Farhan, accusing him of breaking his promise, but he knocks her down, then grabs her by the hair, and asks if she thinks she gave him enough money to buy a place. He tells her she no longer has a place here, but instead a place in hell. Yeti is then thrown into the isolation ward and locked inside, and as she regains consciousness, she begins to feel something strange, as if something eerie is happening to her. Overcome by a dark compulsion, she starts injuring herself by banging her body against the walls and biting herself. After a while, when the guard arrive to bring her food, Yeti attacks one of them, biting her ear off, after which she faints, collapses to the side, and eventually dies. Later, Wenny meets Rustia, who tells her that some have said she was the last person Yeti and Jane were with. Wenny responds, maybe, and Rustia adds that her heroic deed may have triggered them to dare do something more. Wenny asks, can't you see what's happening here? Everyone is bullied, and sexual assault and illegal deals are common. The prisoners live in fear, and no one does anything. She adds that many have died unnaturally, yet you're not bothered by it. Rustia explains that she follows her duties and the Hippocratic Oath, hoping to make the prison a better place. But she has come to realize that the world isn't as good as she once thought. To which Wenny says she believes Rustia's efforts are meaningless and that nothing has truly changed. Wenny gets up to leave, but Rustia warns her not to look for trouble, adding that Yeti and Jane are examples for her. Wenny then approaches Adil and asks why people always end up dead whenever they mess with Bella. She asks if he has access to the isolation ward, to which he replies that he has limited access here. Meanwhile, Herman informs Bella that he has another task for her, but Bella says their deal is over, and she has fulfilled all his demands. On Herman's orders, Farhan knocks her down, and Herman then asks if she really thought she could outsmart him. Bella apologizes, and Herman warns her to do her job if she wants her child to remain safe. Reluctantly, Bella agrees, saying she will do anything as long as her child is unharmed. In a flashback, Simon shares Ratna's autopsy report with Wenny, telling her that the victims' deaths have one thing in common. All autopsies were performed in private, and they concluded that the cause of all those deaths was suicide. Wenny tells Adil that she doesn't want to die in vain without taking action, so she needs to go to the isolation ward. Later, Wenny grabs a knife, and Yanti tries to stop her, but Wenny pushes forward and attacks Bella. A fight breaks out with other prisoners, during which Wenny knocks one of them down. In the chaos, Bella manages to seize the knife and approaches Wenny, but ends up stabbing and killing another prisoner instead. Bella then makes another attempt to attack Wenny, but Wenny fights back fiercely. After an intense struggle, Wenny overpowers Bella and knocks her down. However, just then, Farhan arrives and knocks her out. Next, Wenny is locked in the isolation ward, eating her dinner. While eating, she begins to feel something strange and eventually loses consciousness. When she regains consciousness sometime later, she is shocked to see Ratna sitting in front of her, who suddenly lunges at her, but Wenny quickly realizes it was just a nightmare. After some time, another prisoner enters the cell and checks on Wenny, remarking that it's the first time she has seen someone handle that much LSD. The prisoner turns out to be Yanti, who comments on Wenny's resilience, calling her really strong. Confused, Wenny asks what she means, and Yanti cryptically responds, like two flies stuck in the same trap. You and your sister Ratna are both fools. You'll both end up stuck and die in the same place. Shocked, Wenny asks, you took Ratna's life? To which Yanti coldly replies, yes, I did. Yanti then reveals that many people place orders for fresh organs, such as healthy hearts and kidneys, and since these demands can't be refused, they are forced to sacrifice prisoners to meet them. She adds that Sakar could have still been alive if she had kept her mouth shut. But all this is not personal. It's just business. Yanti then pulls out a syringe and tells Wenny, don't hold a grudge against me. She apologizes, assuring Wenny that it won't hurt, and adds, send my regards to your beloved sister, Ratna. As Yanti begins to inject her, Wenny quickly turns the tables, using her legs to restrain Yanti, and in a swift move, she snatches the syringe and injects Yanti with it instead, ultimately killing her. Wenny escapes the isolation ward, and the scene shifts to an operating room, where a team of doctors is harvesting organs from a body. Suddenly, Bella regains consciousness, and as a doctor attempts to attack her, she fights back fiercely, killing everyone in the room, and, to her horror, she discovers a room filled with the bodies of murdered prisoners. Meanwhile, Herman and Farhan are celebrating their success when two guards enter and inform them that Wenny has escaped and killed Yanti. Farhan immediately rushes to his team, telling them that Wenny has escaped and orders them to find her. After a while, Bella encounters some guards. After knocking them out, she takes the key from one of them and escapes. Meanwhile, Farhan finds Wenny and starts misbehaving with her, prompting her to slap him. Enraged, Farhan strikes her back, knocking her down, and just then, Ismi intervenes, hitting him, which only makes him more furious, and in a fit of rage, he he strangles her to death. He then turns to Wenny, grabs her by the hair, and demands that she stop running. He tries to kiss her, but when Wenny stops him, he becomes enraged and strikes her, knocking her down again. He then starts unbuttoning his pants, but Adit suddenly arrives and stabs him from behind. Adit helps Wenny to her feet and tells her they need to report to Simon, as he's the only one who can help them. He explains that there are only 2 phones in the prison, one in Herman's office and the other in Rustia's office. Wenny reveals that Herman is the mastermind and that they sold the organs of all the dead prisoners, including Ratna's. Afterward, both of them head toward Rustia's office, but Herman attacks them, knocking them down. Adit tries to fight back and urges Wenny to run, and as Wenny flees, Herman smashes Adit's head onto the floor, knocking him unconscious. Meanwhile, Bella opens the doors to all the prisoners' cells and frees them, and when the guards arrive to stop them, the prisoners overpower and attack them. Wenny reaches Rustia's office and explains that Yanti injected prisoners in isolation under Herman's orders and that their organs are being sold. She insists they report it immediately. Rustia, trying to calm her, asks why she isn't in isolation, to which Wenny reveals they tried to kill her and she needs to make a call. As Wenny approaches and dials the number, Rustia says she will get some water for her. She mixes something into the water, gives it to Wenny, and makes her drink it, and before Wenny can say anything to Simon, she collapses. After a while, Wenny regains consciousness and warns Rustia to run, insisting that Herman is the bad guy. However, Rustia responds that everything has turned into a mess because of her. It is then revealed that Herman is actually Rustia's husband, and she is the true mastermind behind everything. As Rustia attempts to inject Wenny, the lights suddenly go out and Rustia tells Herman to check what's happening. When Herman opens the door to investigate, Adit suddenly attacks him and seizing the opportunity. Wenny gets up, grabs Rustia, and manages to inject her. Wenny and Adit quickly leave the room, leaving Rustia behind, and under the influence of drugs, Rustia begins to see the ghosts of all the prisoners she had killed. A short circuit then occurs, causing the room to catch fire, and Adit and Wenny escape, leaving the flames behind. Outside, a violent clash erupts between the guards and the prisoners. The fight continues for a while, but eventually, the guards manage to overpower the prisoners. A few months later, Wenny places flowers on Ratna's grave and says, "You can rest in peace now." As they prepare to leave, Adit tells Wenny that he heard the isolation ward has truly been sealed. Wenny asks about Rustia, and Adit informs her that she is now in a mental asylum, still needing to be held accountable for her actions. Later, they visit Bella in prison, and she is surprised to see that they have brought her daughter with them. Bella becomes emotional as she sees her, and her daughter rushes to her, hugging her tightly. Bella embraces her, thanking Adit and Wenny for bringing them together. Wenny tells Adit that she plans to return to work and write a book about the story of the prison, so that everyone can learn about it. She adds that he will be the first person she tells once the book is finished. Next, we see a man telling someone that Herman and Rustia have been taken care of, and that they have regained control of the prison, so the isolation ward can be reopened. As the person disconnects the call, it is revealed that the man is Simon, and the movie ends here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a scare. Until next time, stay spooky.